So good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Dom. I'm one of the co-presidents of the TTF Watershed Partnership Board of Directors. And on behalf of the partnership, welcoming you all to the 10th Annual Watershed Milestone Award Ceremony. I think, as you know, tonight we're going to be celebrating our watershed heroes and the great work they have been doing to keep Tacony Creek clean. And like last year, although we're sorry we can't be meeting in person, we're still thrilled that you're all here to support TTF and its incredible mission tonight. So I think all of you know that our mission at TTF is really connecting people to the creeks. And when you do that, that certainly is transformational, and you wind up creating all kinds of watershed ambassadors. And so that's what TTF is well known for. In the past year, which is the norm, TTF has engaged many children and adults, both online and in person in small events due to the pandemic. And the goal of TTF is to continue to be able to continue to provide these incredible services to both the Philadelphia and Montgomery County communities. And you can help in so many ways. And I think tonight's way of helping is really participating in the auction, the silent auction bid that is online, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that yet. A lot of great items. So you can bid on the items, or you can just donate, whatever you feel moved to do. That'll be open until 7 p.m. till the end of the program tonight. So, and if you're having any trouble with the donation link, just put in the chat and somebody from TTF will assist you in making sure that you can make that very important donation so TTF can continue doing its great work. So again, thank you for being here tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marilyn Torres, who is the other co-president of the TTF Watershed Partnership.
Thank you, Joanne. My name is Marilyn Torres, and I am co-president of TTF's board. Tonight, I am honored to introduce Dr. Jamie Mcrae as our keynote speaker. Jamie is the managing director of the Alliance of Watershed Education, a partnership of 23 environmental education centers, and of which TTF is a proud founding member. Jamie Mcrae, PhD, is an ecologist and choreographer whose work explores questions of place through 3 forms of inquiry: research, movement, I lost my thing, and community engagement. She earned a BS in biology from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, an MA in marine policy from the University of Miami, and a PhD from the University of Florida in wildlife ecology, with a dissertation on policy evaluation of sea turtle-friendly lightning in Florida. She's also a lifelong dancer, a founder, and founded Ecotonic Movement, an organization dedicated to facilitating conversations about climate change through the performing arts. Currently serving as the managing director of the Alliance of Watershed Education, Jamie's research focuses on legislation and management of natural resources. Her research interests include science communication, behavior change, measuring the educational and social impact of environmental performing arts projects, and the structure of collaborations. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jamie Mcrae.
And let's do a whole virtual round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and for being a captive audience to hear me talk for a little bit. Thank you so much, Julie, for inviting me to join you in your celebration of Watershed Heroes. I am delighted to be here and to continue to be connected with TTF. Also, many thanks to Emily, who has been doing an amazing job facilitating and getting all of this and the program together, and for dealing with all the Zoom tech, which we all know is always doing something that is interesting and not what we expected. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit this evening about the importance of merging science and art, and why that's something that is really core to what I do in the world, and how TTF really is connected with that as well. So I want to talk to you about small Jamie, very, very tiny Jamie, probably about 3 years old, running around outside by the pool, and I just knew that I could swim. So I have jumped, 3, never a swimming lesson, just jumped right in the water. And my dad, God bless him, is man on the spot, scoop me up. I've not been scarred. I have considered myself a water child my entire life. That is that's the quintessential Jamie story that has been told in my family, right? Yep, that one, she's a water child. She is a water child. And it is really important, the stories that we tell, the stories that we tell ourselves, because we humans are storytellers, and the stories that we are told, the stories that we tell ourselves internally, the stories that we tell as communities, as nations, as the world, that creates the lives that we live and the world that we end up inhabiting. And so hearing, she's a water child, it is, or it should be, of no surprise that I ended up becoming a marine biologist, right? What do water children do? They study the water, they go scuba diving, they get in touch with tiny little nudibranchs or sea slugs, they study sea turtles, and they're connected, right? They're connected to the water. And who are the storytellers of our world, besides each of us individually, but the people that are really talented and craft a lot of the stories that we hear as a society are the artists. So I think that connecting artists with what is going on in our environment, with the natural disasters, with the environmental and conservation triumphs, is one of the things that we can do to start creating and crafting a new narrative around the world that we want to create. And who is doing this? You guys are. TTF is. The Only Culture Lab is. Way before I was even looking at the job as managing director of the Alliance for Watershed Education, I was first introduced to Coney Creek by an artist, Leela Aisha Jones, through the Only Culture Lab. And she said, hey, I know you dance, you're a scientist, you're interested in water and creating relationships with people and reciprocity. I'm doing this thing called a revival walk. You want to come out to Philly and, just come on the walk with us and experience it. And, we can talk a little bit afterwards about maybe how you would be involved. And so this was my introduction to Coney Creek. I got to go out and be on the land and do sensory exercises and, really take things in. And not just with my eyes, but closed eyes, listening to the wind, finding where the sunlight was, listening to the water and taking a look at what plants were around. And unfortunately, Dorian was not on our particular walk. I am not a plant and tree person quite as much. So it would have been great to have that wisdom along with us. But it was a wonderful way for me to start connecting with the creek and for all of the residents of Olney that were around and on the walk with us to really, you know, disconnect from our small screens and start thinking about the relationship that we have to the spaces around us. And I hesitate to even call it nature, right? Because there's not really this divide between ourselves and the place where we inhabit, right? And so it has been a really beautiful journey to be able to get to know one of what would become a center that I get to interact with on a more regular basis. And one of the things that happened during my Revival Walk tenure, so I did end up joining the team and actually doing a solo, was I created a small piece, a small written piece called The Stories We Tell. And I'd like to read to you all an excerpt of that. The stories we tell. We humans are storytellers. Once upon a time, long ago and far away, back in the days when animals could talk, in the beginning was the word. We shape our world with the stories we tell. My ancestors grew up along lakes, riverbeds, and the ocean. My ancestors learned how to swim as infants. My ancestors were strong swimmers who free dived for cowrie shells. We create worlds with the stories we tell. My ancestors were skilled canoemen, fisherwomen. My ancestors from Senegal, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Gabon invented surfing. My ancestors birthed a water child who still studies the ocean. We create worlds with the stories we tell. We shape our world with the stories we tell. What are your stories? And I'm going to pass it back with that to hear about some of the amazing stories of our watershed heroes tonight. So thank you all for spending some time with me, and I look forward to experiencing the stories that you all are going to go forward and tell in the world. Thank you.
So thank you, Jamie. So now we get to tell wonderful stories. This is my favorite part of this event. So what we're going to be doing is sharing with you video stories. So you get to hear from these wonderful watershed heroes directly as they tell you who they are and why they care about water and what they've been doing to work with us and to make the watershed healthier. So we'll be recognizing two friends of the TTF Watershed, Siani Cologne and John Reisch. We'll be recognizing our nonprofit steward and partner, the Olney Culture Lab. We'll be recognizing our corporate steward, Garfield Refining. We'll be recognizing our wonderful educator, David White. And our legacy award winner is Joyce Miller. And I didn't leave anyone out, did I? Emily. Oh, here we go. So enjoy.
I'm Siani Colon. I'm a Tacony Creek Park keeper, and I've been involved going on 3 years now.
You're waiting for it to load a little bit?
I'm probably not sharing my sound because I was muted. Apologies for that. 1 second here. Oh, now that's working.
The sound was fine.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh. Well.
It
And
seemed like it needed to load.
Excellent.
Better.
I'm Siani Colon. I'm a Tacony Creek Park keeper, and I've been involved going on 3 years now. I try to help out where I can, but my work has been primarily focused around the Juniata, Feltonville, and Alney sections of the park. You know, I try to do anything that gives me an excuse to stay even longer outdoors. I primarily help out with cleanups in the trails and around the gateways. If you talk to anyone who knows me, I'm always talking about trash. Also helping out with marking storm drains, tending to our little free library, which is the newest addition, and the trail, you know, keeping it stocked, attending to our little garden at the I Am Ramona Gateway, home with our native plants, and just, you know, participating in general programming from the bird walks to yoga. I'm really also helping, you know, implement different programs in the trail so people can engage with the watershed in ways beyond just walking. And, you know, helping with canvassing, blog writing, just different ways on, you know, that any way I can participate and have other people participate, I try to be there. My favorite part of being involved with TTF is just really getting to know everybody. I've just gotten so well connected with my neighbors and, you know, other people from different neighborhoods who have been engaged with the park. And I've made, you know, really good friends and acquaintances because of my time in the trail, and just getting other people who may have never even heard of Tacony Creek Park, you know, bringing all my friends, like, come to yoga with me, or let's go on this walk. So just bringing everyone in, and it's just been a really welcoming space to just really get people excited about nature, especially since for some people it's right in their backyard. This work is important to me because I recognize how valuable having these green spaces are, especially in the past year with the pandemic. You know, having time to spend in Tacony Creek Park has been such an asset to my mental health and my physical health. And not to mention, we are in a state of climate emergency, and these natural lands and these waters are always in constant threat, and we have to do everything we can to protect them. Clean water is important to me because, plain and simple, water is life. We hear that a lot from Indigenous water protectors. You know, we see water makes up so much of the planet, so much of our bodies, and we really need it to live. And I think it's something that we often take for granted because we always think it's something that's going to be there, not realizing that's also another resource that's under threat. And, you know, being in a state of climate emergency, you're going to see a lot more scarcity with those resources. So we really have to do a lot more to protect our access to clean water, not just to enjoy it, but because we need it to drink. I say thank you to TTF for selecting me, for the Friends of the Watershed for this award, and to everyone who nominated me and see the work that I have done. I really appreciate it, and I hope to continue to do a lot of great work for the watershed.
My name is John Reisch. I live in Wyncote. I am on the Environmental Advisory Council within Cheltenham Township. I'm connected to the TTF in a number of ways. Many years ago, my family were part of the Stream Keepers program. More recently, as I got engaged with the Environmental Advisory Council, my personal interests, along with my interests within the EAC, kind of were intertwined with TTF's mission. So we've kind of been in partnership to accomplish our collective goals together. When I came on board Cheltenham's Environmental Advisory Council in 2017, we asked our township commissioners to sign a Circuit Trails resolution. That resolution is something that just says our township, including our commissioners, we want to move forward with trails development within the township. My favorite part about working with TTF really comes back to kind of my personal goals. I want to be out in nature. I want to be outside on trails. I am a major cyclist. I believe bikes are magical, and I believe bicycles can transport us both physically and emotionally to really great places. So as part of being acknowledged with this award by TTF, I want to use this as an opportunity to raise awareness for Cheltenham Township's sustainability plan. First, I want our residents to know that in fact, Cheltenham has a sustainability plan. That plan, though, is only as good as the actions that we take as a community to bring it to life. My work on the EAC, we focus on, my team, my committee, we focus on 2 of the 10 sustainability goals. What I want to do, though, is read off to you a bullet list of all 10 goals. And if there's anything here in this list that's interesting or exciting to you, I ask you to look us up, come collaborate, and contribute to Cheltenham Township's EAC, because there's a lot of work to be done. So, Cheltenham Township's 10 sustainability goals. 1, community engagement. 2, energy. 3, mobility. 4, waste reduction. 5, water management. 6, ecological stewardship. 7, healthy living for all. 8, local economy. 9, sustainable development. And number 10 is monitoring. We want a process that's going to monitor the progress that we make. So I'd like to take some time to thank those that were involved with me winning this award. Number 1, the Tacony-Frankford Watershed Partnership Group and the team there. Super awesome. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be recognized this way. Secondly, I'd like to thank my wife and kids who give me the freedom and autonomy to go off and do all kinds of crazy stuff in the watershed, outside, in the outdoors, to move forward the different goals that I have. And then third, I want to thank the community at large here in Township who have supported me in gathering them together to accomplish our collective goals. So thank you very much.
My name is David White. I am the science teacher at John Marshall. I teach kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade hands-on science experiments. This will be my 3rd year working with TTF. We've had them come to our classroom and do demonstrations for our 3rd and 4th grade students. And I've taken 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students along the Roosevelt Boulevard entranceway to do cleanups and to do different art installation projects. So my favorite part is getting my kids involved, having them figure out that cleaning the neighborhood is like a good thing for the community and for themselves as well. Seeing the look on their faces when they kind of step back and they see the work that they've done in a given space and they can see how much it's been cleaned. And then in those same moments, while they're cleaning, while they're exploring the park, we get a chance to look at what is in the park, what kind of plants are growing, what kind of animals are living there. We find burrows and holes and we try to figure out who lives here. And it's such a great exploration moment for my students. So this work is important to me because I grew up in New York City and did not get a lot of green spaces. And the fact that my students have a really big green space walking distance from their homes and schools, and some of them don't even know about it. And so the more that we can build that awareness and build that community with TTF and our students, I think will be really beneficial for them. I'd love to see more and more students getting involved with the TTF Watershed through either our school or the other schools around the neighborhood. And I'd love to see more and more students show up on the weekends or after school programs to help their community, if that's cleaning the community or if that's awareness about different climate actions or green actions that need to happen in our community. Clean water is important to me because it's something that I don't have to think about, and it's something that really none of my students really have to think about. But there are people in the world, and there are people in our state and in our country that, now I'm going to rephrase that, there are people in our country and even in our state who do not have access to clean drinking water. And the more in which we can raise awareness about that and how our water gets cleaned, I think the better our students will be to tackle those problems in the future. I'd love to thank the TTF for all the great work that they're doing in the Frankfurt community and for the outreach that they're able to provide for our students. It's a great program, and I love what they're able to do for my kids and the learning that I'm able to see come out of their brains.
I've been connected to with the Tacony-Frankfurt Watershed Partnership now for at least 4 years, maybe longer. Frankly, I've lost track of the time because it's been this ongoing, growing, evolving relationship with not only the organization, but with the park and the creek itself. I was approached by the team, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, to work on the project of using the arts and culture to engage more people in and around the neighborhoods that are adjacent to the watershed. And to that end, I was initially hired as a consultant by TTF, and then subsequently, as I've grown to learn more and more about this wonderful space, Olney Culture Lab itself has gotten support and funding to do even more work and to bring more attention to the watershed itself. The work that Olney Culture Lab has done in the watershed has been varied. Just oral history stories, people's memories of living and engaging with the park. 3 years ago, we helped launch a photo contest for the general public to share with us their images of the Tacony Creek Park and the various wildlife, plant life, human activity that occurs here. We also have invited a myriad of artists from various disciplines to lean into the watershed and to create projects in the space that speak to their own relationship with the space. So we've had dance artists, multimedia artists, musicians, composers, all speak to the unique dynamics that are found in the Tacony watershed. I would like to thank the Tacony Frankfurt Watershed Partnership for bestowing this honor on Olney Culture Lab and our work together all these years. If we collectively can embrace the watershed in such a reciprocal way, it will give us back even more reward and meaning in a way that we could not possibly anticipate. So I want to thank the team at TTF, Julie, Dorian, everyone there, and we are so excited for our continued partnership.
My name is Terry Smith. I'm the COO at Garfield Refining. We are located about 2.5 blocks from this spot, up the road on Cayuga Street. We've been a proud Philadelphia business since 1892. We were actually originally in Center City, Philadelphia. We moved out here in 1985 when the city decided to expand the convention center around Reading Terminal. So we were one of the first businesses that the city moved out here. So we met Julie and Emily a couple of years ago. Garfield had done a number of cleanups associated with Earth Day, and we were looking for a partner really to make a more sustained impact on our community. And we found TTF. It's been a really great fit for us for a couple of reasons. First off, we really appreciate their focus on helping the local community, which is important to us. Garfield has a number of employees who live, blocks from here. And so it was really great to have an impact on the communities where people live. Also important to us is diversity and inclusion, and that aligns with TTF's mission statement. So it's been a really natural fit for us over the last couple of years. We've done a couple of different cleanups, one of which is right around here this spring, and also did another cleanup a little further up on the watershed on the other side of Roosevelt Boulevard last year. So how we treat our waterways and clean water is a indication of how we treat one another. I think this section of the stream has almost 7 stream miles. And how many people live and play nearby? Lots. And I think that it may be cliche, but what we do upriver affects, those people downriver. And more than ever right now, I think that how we think about our individual actions and how they may impact other people is important to think about. And I think that there's a lot of lessons in that. And so I, hope that all of us think a little harder about what we're doing individually and how we might be impacting others. Yeah, so I just want to thank TTF for honoring us and the work that the folks at Garfield did this year and last year, and hopefully continue to do. But really, we want to thank them because they're doing the hard work. They do this every day. They're out there trying to do the the thankless work, and I think it's really important. And I know that it's been especially hard for them this year, just like all of us. And I think that building community and focusing on engaging people is really thankless work right now. And so I'd like to take this minute to thank them. So thank you.
My name is Joyce Miller. I'm the managing principal of J. Miller & Associates. It's an accounting firm that only works with nonprofit organizations in the Philadelphia tri-state region. Well, TTF was one of the first organizations that we were engaged with once we made the switch to only working with nonprofit organizations. So I've been working with them a little over 10 years. So the work that we do, it's accounting and advisory services. So we review the grants that the organization gets. We do all of the accounting work. We produce monthly financial reports. We prep the books for being audited every year. And we work with the TTF's outside auditor as well. We consult with Julie in the management team for any type of financial advice that's needed during the year. We meet with the finance committee on a monthly basis also to review the books and records of the organization. Well, the reason we work with nonprofit organizations is because of the variety of things that they do for society as a whole. And so with TTF being an environmental organization, I mean, that's something that's important for everyone. So I think that's the most important thing that we like about the work that we do with TTF. This type of organization is something that affects us all. Even though TTF is a particular watershed, well, the watershed's all over. And so the education work that they do with relations to the watershed and the importance of maintaining those environments is important for everyone. So clean water is the life of us all. So without clean water, none of us can live. So it's important to everyone. I can say that we really enjoy working with the people at TTF. We love the services that they provide, all of the education they do with community groups, business organizations in the area. So we just love being involved with such an important and vital organization in the area.
Hey, so I hope everyone enjoyed those wonderful stories. It was really nice to get to know people better and hear what is important to people and what they do, and to see everybody's faces and David's pat and, really get a sense of people's personalities. One thing I want to do, Emily made the mistake of telling me we're a little bit ahead of time, so I can say a few things. So I want to do that. One thing I want to do is we're going to have an opportunity for networking later. I know this is a group that likes to talk to each other, and we have some of our really wonderful organizational partners on, and I know they're gonna, they're great at networking and they are great at supporting us and doing, we all have some common goals. So there's some other organizations on, and I want those folks to step up and just, make sure that they introduce themselves and have a chance to say sort of what they do. I see Alex from the Sustainable Business Network, and in my Jeopardy box here, and some other friends. The other thing I want to do is that we're very proud. I know we have some folks on that are elected officials or staff for elected officials. So please, and if I missed you, please raise your hand But we have Representative former Representative Steve McCarter on, who will always be, he's not former, he's a wonderful state representative with a good friend of TTF, there he is with Deb, and a wonderful environmental advocate, and very active in climate change work in Harrisburg. So Steve, will you say something? I'm going to ask you to wait until the networking part, but will you jump in then? And then I know also, I believe Alexandra Khalil, who's a Jenkintown Borough Council person, is on. And then Christina Boutselis, who I think put something in the chat, who works for State Representative Napoleon Nelson, has joined us as well. Please, if I missed anyone, please chat and yell at me and I'll make sure that we introduce you. But we know how busy you are working on, trying to make sure that good things are happening at a time when it's tough to do that. So thank you for taking the time. We know how tough that is, and thank you for being heroes and working for heroes who are trying to make sure that we have clean water and a more equitable society and all those kind of things. I also just want to take 1 minute. I want board members to make sure that they raise their hands. We have a number of board members and board advisors on this Zoom, and we really appreciate you guys. Raise your hands, please. Thank you. We couldn't do this work without you. You guys have been really supportive and wonderful in terms of everything, and especially in terms of milestones. So it's really nice to see board directors and advisors' faces. Right. I think what I'm supposed to do now is our highlights of the last year. So let me see, that's coming up. So I think I'm ready to do that. So this is fun to do, and I looked at doing this a little bit of a different way. I think what I did last year was like I ran through the year, and it was exhausting to talk about everything that we did in the chronological order. So what I decided to do is to really talk about sort of how we, bring some themes together about how we're trying to, again, build connections and make sure that we're investing in making connections and really building a future. Keeping an eye to the future. Everything that we do is building on what we already did and trying to improve that. So the first thing I want to talk about is how we invest in people. It is lovely to see you too, Najari. How we invest in people. And I think that I'm going to focus a little bit on young people, because I think young people are really important. So we're going to talk about young people in this little section. But this year we hosted 4 talented, helpful interns, 1 Delaware River Fellow, and 1 Soak It Up Rain Garden caretaker. And sometimes it's tough to support interns. It was hard during the pandemic, but it's really important. It's really part of our work. And it's worth the time, and it's really critical. So these folks, these young people, researched water issues and topics. They wrote blogs. They made phone calls to constituents, inviting them to events. They helped us with that, which is very important. They welcomed neighbors, and they led activities at block parties. They maintained our Cayuga Street community cans, rain gardens, and stormwater bump outs. They helped create a virtual video tour of our creeks in Montgomery County. They created edible plant guides and led foraging walks. When they left us, they knew a lot more about water than when they started. And I also like to think that they knew more about themselves and working for an organization and opportunities and what they did well and what they might want to learn more, to do a little bit more. We know that they will all, most of these folks will not become full-time. They won't work full-time in the environmental movement, but they will always understand, hopefully, and advocate for how important water is and environmental justice and those issues. Hopefully they learned from us and learned to ask some questions and to think about what they were going to do, you know, what they're going to do to continue to be advocates in the future. This screen also shows Micaiah Vessels, who was our Delaware River Watershed Fellow, who did an amazing work doing research on edible plants and led a series of plant walks. We are planning on bringing her back to continue doing that probably once every season. She came to our fall festival and gave away native plants with us. She talked about native plants with people, and then folks signed a pledge to get a native plant. We didn't sell them. We had folks sign a pledge to be able to take those home. And we are featuring her on a video later on in the program. So very, very wonderful experience. And I think we learned a lot, and she learned a lot as well. And we're very happy that she will continue to be part of the TTF family. We also invest in planning, really with a focus on community planning. So last spring, in partnership with the Pennsylvania Environmental Council, Cheltenham Township, and our consultant Campbell Thomas and Company, we completed a Tookenny Creek Trail feasibility study that we funded and managed with these partners. This was, you know, we're not a trail organization. This was a little bit of a stretch, but we know how important trails are in terms of getting people connected and next to water. So we pursued this. We know how important the trail is in the city and how important the circuit is. This study process involved robust community engagement during the pandemic. A lot of online, I think the first meeting was in person, but after that it was all online. And over 600 surveys were completed by community residents, which is significant. And these surveys really demonstrated that Cheltenham residents overwhelmingly support trail development. So we are very excited about that and very proud of that work. And we could not have done it without the partners that we had. In addition, next month, we'll host our first public meeting for our master site development plan for Tacony Creek Park with our consultant, working with our consultant, Natural Lands. The foundation of this plan is community engagement. With current and prospective park users, with a representative advisory committee, with community partners, including, we'll be working with the Olney Cultural Lab and a number of other community partners, and through innovative intervention projects. So this is a wonderful opportunity that took us a number of years to get to, this place. And it's, we're very hopeful that we will engage a lot of people through the process. And I'm not a process person, but I think that this is going to be a process that really brings people in and builds some wonderful ideas and projects and programs and improvements to the park that people will be very excited about. We also invest in restoration. So our Stream Smart program is working with neighbors to create sustainable landscapes along creeks that flow through their suburban properties. So these are projects that are in people's backyards, largely along the Jenkintown Creek. And I think that really shows how, it shows what the geography is of the watershed, but it also shows that individuals can make a difference for their little stretch of the creek. They can certainly contribute to the health of the creek. With Tree Philly and with partner Riverfront North, we have provided Tacony Creek Park neighbors with native trees to plant in their yards and are planting hundreds of native trees in the park with Parks and Recreation and the Fairmount Park Conservancy. And this month has been tree planting month for us and really for Philadelphia. A lot of trees are getting planted this year. It is very exciting. We also collaborated with Cheltenham Township at the Conklin Pool to transform a concrete water chute into a thriving wetland habitat that manages over 40 acres of runoff. This is, I don't know, I always feel like the next project is always our favorite project, but this was a pretty fabulous project. And it really transformed the landscape. You should go by and look at it when you can. And it manages a lot of stormwater. It really impacts the Jenkintown Creek. So each of the sites and the owners and the volunteers and the visitors who come to these sites, they are now all ambassadors for clean water. And if you go to swim at the Conklin Pool, there is a, I don't know how you can miss the beautiful native flowers that are growing there, and there's an interpretive sign. So there's really an opportunity for people who are just going to hang out at the pool and cool off to learn about how important creeks are and native plants and water. We also invest in building a watershed community. So we're committed to creating programming and events that bring people together. Ambrose talked a little bit about the photo contest. Our Eyes on Our Landscape photo contest, in partnership with the Alney Culture Lab, spanned our watershed for the first time. So the first time we did this, we just did the city. This past year, we spread it out to the whole watershed. It was very exciting to see photos coming in from all over the place, and over 70 people participated of all ages. And then the winners received their awards at the block parties at a little, sort of photo gallery, and it brought them together to each other, to meet the other winners, and to experience Tacony Creek Park. So it was it was an amazing program that I think really had a lot of impacts. Our fall festival and concert in Tacony Creek Park, which was again in partnership with the Alney Culture Lab, brought together 250 people, all different ages. It was wonderful to enjoy music based on the park, on the sounds and the beauty of the park, to paint pumpkins with their kids, to get a free native plant to take home, to have their portrait taken with the intertwined sculpture, to walk the story trail, and to learn more about how to get involved in the Friends group. This is how we built a park community. And we had some wonderful volunteers out from the keepers who welcomed people and didn't let them get by without signing in and making sure that they had a personal welcome. So I think that was most of my piece. What I want to talk about a little bit next is, again, all this work and this celebration as well, and our Watershed Heroes, is about building a watershed community. So it's really amazing that it's 10 years. And one of the things, so we put together these slides of 10 years of Watershed Heroes, 2012 to 2020, that's what these photos are of, at a number of different places where we celebrated. And, as far, for us, this is the TTF family. These are folks we continue to see, who continue to support us, who continue to be involved and tell their friends about us. So, the purpose of this celebration is to recognize contributions and accomplishments of people and programs to build this community. And our hope is, that the past and this coming year will continue these efforts. Our Watershed Heroes will continue your efforts. You'll support each other, and you'll be a voice for the watershed and for TTF. So here we get to see our Watershed Heroes again and really celebrate. And I want to add one piece that I forgot about Joyce Miller. So you got to know Joyce. She talked about all the things that she does for us, which are really important. And, our financial stability and money is really important. We take the board and the staff take our fiduciary responsibility very seriously. TTF is in very good financial shape. It wasn't always. I think we're in good shape. But the pandemic impacted nonprofits everywhere, all different kind of organizations that we all love, from environmental organizations to arts organizations to museums. I mean, things that are very important for us. And Joyce applied for and did all the paperwork for 2 PPP loans for us. And she was really there when we needed her. It was really critical. And I spent time with other executive directors who were much more freaked out than I was, to be honest with you, about this, because Joyce made this very simple, a very simple process for us. she said, I have the numbers, I have this information. You know, there were other folks, I knew other folks that were doing this paperwork themselves. And Joyce really did this for us and took care of us and made sure that we are, you know, still here and that we're moving forward. And, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was pretty scary. So that's why she's getting the Legacy Award, because we really feel like that work really ensured that we have a legacy and that we're moving into the future. So I just wanted to add that. And I know she probably is completely embarrassed and, she's not the kind of person who goes out and, you know, toots her own horn and everything, but it was really important for our work. Really important. All right. Emily, what's next? Partner Alliance.
I think I'm next. Yeah.
Yes, I think you are.
Thank you, Julie. That was a wonderful recap. We wanted to take a moment to thank all of our Partner Alliance members. This alliance is just an extraordinary group of businesses and organizations that understand that we all play a role in protecting our local creeks. And without their critical support, our education, stewardship, restoration, and advocacy work would not be possible. Year after year, Alliance members give generously, and they allow us to do creative work and engage our residents with protecting and improving our watershed and the green spaces. So I think the last time we met with this group, it was online at our networking reception in May. And I know we all enjoyed connecting then, but please now let me say all of the names of our Partner Alliance, and you can join me in thanking them at the end. We can sort of do our round of applause then. Start with our Philanthropist Plus level is Essential Utilities, Mom's Organic Market, REI Co-op. Might have to click through Jamie Lee. Philanthropist, Pixel Parlor, Benefactors, Roof Metal Services, Penn, Master of Science in Applied Geosciences, our ambassadors, Aqua Reali, and Philadelphia Insurance Companies. Our advocates, our Abington Friends School, Frankfurt Friends School, Garfield Refining, Gilmore and Associates Incorporated, NV5 Incorporated, Pennsylvania Environmental Council, Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia, Wyncote Audubon Society, and our patrons, AD Marble and Company Incorporated, Apiary Studio Landscape Architecture, Baseman, Edelman and Weiss, PC, Bennett Compost, Cerulean LLC, Green Weaver Landscapes, Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, Republic Bank, the Communication Solutions Group, Weeds Inc. Did I skip over Nativescapes LLC? I'm sorry about that. Nativescapes LLC, Octoraro Native Plant Nursery Incorporated. I don't know how that happened. And our associates, Cedar Run Landscapes, Spacious, a creative web company, Studio CCLA LLC, Sustainable Choices LLC, And last but not least, Teamsters Local Union number 169. With that, I'll hand it back to Julie, but we really thank all of our Partner Alliance members. They keep us afloat.
Thanks, Emily. You know, the Partner Alliance provides us with unrestricted income, which is really critical. So we love them very much for that unrestricted income. A lot of the grants and contracts we have are for very specific services. So these dollars not only enable us to do things like pay for gas for the van and make sure that we're heating our office, it also means that we get to take risks on programs that we think might work, that we don't have, funding for, and then often those programs turn into something really wonderful. So please, if you would like to be on this list, which we would very much like, get in touch with Emily. And if you know any other businesses or organizations that should join, please let us know. So I'm going to, I think what we're doing is we're going to sort of our networking session. I was supposed to be doing closing remarks. I feel like I have really shared sort of my heart and soul here, and I'm not sure what else I can say other than thank you to everyone for being here. This is really fun to do every year. It's really hard not to be together at Globe Dye Works, having Weckerly's ice cream, but hopefully we'll be able to do that again. I think this was wonderful to see everybody again online. The other one item I want to mention, and then I want to make sure that we go to networking, the folks that Steve McCarter jumps in right away, is this evening was put together, and this program and the videos and the auction and all that other work was put together by largely Emily and working with Jamie Lee Hoffman on our team. It was pretty painless for the rest of us. It was painless for the rest of us. No one should think that this was painful at all for them. Other folks on staff chipped in and were really critical, but Emily and Jamie Lee really made this happen. And it was, you all know how much work this stuff is to put stuff on, to get stuff online, and the auction and everything else. So I think they deserve a very big round of applause, because it's been a really wonderful evening. So Emily, what are we supposed to do next? Network?
Yeah. Good.
And let me see other questions. So I'm just going to answer one of these questions. So we will post the recording. Probably not, I don't know when that will happen, probably in the next few days. So you'll be able to watch that. The videos will also be posted online. So if, you want to share those with, share some of the winners on other videos, you want to post them, you want to tweet them, you want to Instagram them, whatever it is, you'll be able to grab those from our website too. And I think now we're just going to try to open this up to folks that want to say something. So Emily, do you want to manage this or do you want me to?
It'd be great if you would.
Okay. So so I'm just going to call on Deb and Steve McCarter, since I already put them out there. I can't see everybody.
Spotlight you.
Hopefully we're unmuted here. In a sense, Julie, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Listen, we just want to thank not only you, Julie, but your entire staff. And obviously, congratulations to all the awards winners this year. Just a tremendous grouping of people for all the wonderful things that they have done to make the watershed that much better. And I just want to thank you so much for really, the things that you've stressed, when you're talking about really people and working to incorporate people into a process to build community through the watershed. That is an incredible task. And it's one that, unfortunately, some people don't understand how important that is. And bringing people together around something so important as not only water, that plays into obviously all of the things that many of us are concerned about, such as my issue of climate change and working in that direction. So I just want to thank you all for everything that's happened in this past year, the tremendous work that has been accomplished, not only at Conklin Pool, but in Cheltenham, but obviously in Tacony in the park and everywhere else throughout the entire watershed. It has been a tremendous year. And all of the people that you've selected this year for awards, completely show what has been accomplished in a way that I think all of us are proud of in the whole entire community. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. So folks, if you want to add anything, you should unmute yourself. I think that we're a very polite bunch, and I think we don't need to worry about people interrupting each other. So I know there's folks on here who have opinions about things. So please jump in and share those.
Hey, one of the things, everyone is so articulate about their passion for the work that they're doing. So that was so impressive. But I did want to ask Jamie and Siani, just really, what was it that made that connection? So Jamie, you talked about being a marine biologist, and besides being a water child who was fearless, how did you sort of get down that path? I mean, I think one of the goals of TTF and everyone who loves watershed sciences is how do we connect kids to these careers? And, there's sometimes no clear path. So I keep thinking your story is amazing. Not that everyone's story is, but your stories is amazing. And Siani being so young and kind of making these connections. Yeah, I'm just curious, how did you do it? What was the thing that sort of inspired you to say, I'm going to save the watersheds?
Sure. Thank you, Siani. I can go first. I really think it was the connection that I had with the water, and also the connection that I had with non-human beings, and just being really interested and curious. And once again, kudos to my parents for going, oh, you're interested in this, we're going to keep you busy and continue. They did get me swimming lessons. I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, which is not the place where people usually go, oh yes, this is where marine biologists come from. But really having my parents allow me to explore my curiosity and continue to be connected. Now, there were internships, there was like lots of late hours studying, so there was all of that, but it started with the connection and curiosity and just keeping that alive throughout my whole career trajectory.
So you had a strong support system, people recognizing, validating what you cared about and setting you on that path.
Yes.
Thank you. Siani.
Hello, trying to work with the lighting here. I was relying on the daylight, so here we are. Yes, as for me, my involvement, I had actually first heard of TTF when I was volunteering with a cleanup through my university, and that was the first time that I heard the organization even existed. So people who are actually doing work with the Tacony Creek Park, which I was like familiar with, but I had not known, at that time that there was an active trail that people were looking out for. And I had a chance to meet Dorian that day, which was really excellent. And like, since that day, I was like, how can I continue to be involved? Just because it has just been such an amazing resource for me throughout the time I've been involved, especially within the past year, not, only for my like mental health, but my physical health. And like I mentioned in the video, it's just been such a great way to, really be connected with everyone. I know some time have passed, so I don't know if you want to repeat your question. I want to make sure I hit everything.
No, I think, no, thank you. No, I think you did. I was just wondering, like, how do we make the connections? Does it sound like you have made connections through school and then introductions, and then once you're involved, it was really hard to stay away from it. It was hard not to sort of fall in love with the work. So TTF is really lucky to have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely feel that way.
I know we do.
Definitely do. Siani has wonderful ideas and energy, and it's great. It really is wonderful. So I don't really want to call on people, but I'm very happy to do that. Nobody's gonna. So Alex, Kupo, and Adam, I'm picking on the two of you to just sort of introduce yourself, because I was very excited that you were on the call, the Zoom.
I figured you'd call on me. Hi, everybody. I'm Alex Kupo. I work for the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia. I'm the GSI Partners Manager for the organization. So I work specifically with businesses, some of whom are in this room, that are businesses and partners as well on that list that work specifically to advance GSI to benefit the work that you're all doing, that will advance the quality of water in the city, in the region, that will also be beautifying our spaces, adding more green, creating these opportunities for folks in different communities throughout the city. And just really so grateful to TTF for your continued leadership and the work that you're doing in this region. It's just so incredibly inspirational. And I love the fact that there's so many great folks that are connected to this great organization. So I'll pause there and see if Adam wants to jump in.
Thanks, Alex, and thank you, Julie. Hi, I'm Adam Nagel. I apologize for being off camera here, but it's one of those typical late night family moving around sessions. So we're making do here at my house tonight. But I want to say that I am the new campaign manager for clean water advocacy in Philadelphia for Penn Future. I cannot speak as eloquently as Alex did about all of the wonderful honorees tonight and the important work that TTF does. But what I will say, that as someone who is new to the environmental community, to the watershed community writ large in Philadelphia and outside of it, that tonight has been a great experience for me to become familiar with this particular family, with this particular community. And it's been such a great time for me to learn more about the wonderful people who are involved. And, I can't wait to keep getting more familiarized with TTF and the great work that you all do. So thank you so much for having me tonight. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. I was excited to see you on. And I think, it's a great time if you're home with your family and you can feel, I love that, I can sit at the kitchen table or on the couch and participate, and it's really wonderful. Dottie, did you want to add something?
No, I was cheering them on, but I'm one of I love TTF and Partner Alliance and also SBN, and as a small business owner, Sustainable Choices LLC. It's definitely part of my internal thinking that the businesses need to be involved, which your Partner Alliance allows us to do it. And it's always, like I've said many different places, that, some of the ways that we solve the watershed issues and the water issues in our area is by the networking and by doing things together and by having that collaboration between the public and the private and the individual and the communities. And TTF does that so well. And it's just a lot of fun to be part of it. I tend to be like the cheerleader on the edges a little bit. And I just love doing that because, whether it's the internships that people get to have with you that kind of moves them forward and invites them in, or the events that are with planting or cleaning up things. This is where we live. We're all in it together.
We love you being a cheerleader. Be a cheerleader. I think one of the wonderful things that we've started to see with partners and Partner Alliance folks is, we love it. We love to get the financial support, but we also love it when a group comes out from a business or an organization and plants with us or does a cleanup. It's really nice to get to know people that way and have them see in a hands-on way what we do. And I also think it's become more, I mean, we heard from our friends at Garfield Refining. I mean, people weren't together and then coming, I think people appreciate so much more being together outside after people didn't see each other for a while. So it feels like it's even more special to come out and celebrate by doing this kind of work. So thank you, Dottie. So Emily, are we moving on to something else? Yes, good.
Yeah, I would love to show you all just some of our auction items. If you haven't checked it out already, I would be surprised, but it ends at 7. So just, check it out. You can scan the code here. You can also go to 32auctions.com/2021 milestones to get there. And we just have some of the items should be panning through on the slideshow. But I'm not sure if it is. Oh, it is. Okay. I never know, technology has been all over the place tonight. So, but there's just a lot of great stuff to check out.
Can I do a sale? Can I encourage people? So for those of you who think we have a fantastic new logo, which we do, a most beautiful, very, a logo that tells a good story, I think. That was created by Pixel Parlor, our partner who we love very much, and they have donated an opportunity for a logo refresh. So you should think about bidding on that if you work with an organization of, that really needs a new look and wants to do it with a bunch of folks who are really creative and supportive and a lot of fun to work with and very thoughtful.
Real quick, I'll just jump on that and say that Pixel Parlor has been a great partner. They're a sponsor of SBN as well as Jen is on our board. And so can definitely doubly say just really a fan of the work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Thanks, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say that the two paintings, there are two paintings that are of a fisherman in a boat and a marsh. Those are by a woman who was a painter with the Rockport Art Association in Rockport, Massachusetts. Those were my mother's, and they're really lovely. And if you've ever been, I mean, they're very, very Rockport Art Association. So if you've ever been to that part of New England, I think that they really show how beautiful that is.
One of the bids that I placed. They're lovely.
What? They're really pretty.
One of the bids I placed. Yeah, they're lovely.
Thank you. And I think, Emily, what are we doing next? We're going to show a video.
Yes, we have my Kaya vessels are off fellow from the past summer. There's a short video that is about her capstone project, the forging walks that she led. So we'll be showing that video. So y'all can.
And the photographs, those beautiful nature photographs are by TTF staff.
Yes, the framed ones. There's 4 of them. I couldn't get them all on this slide. But Dorian and Ryan took those photos and framed them. They're very nice.
We're very fortunate because at Globe Dye Works, there are a lot of small businesses that make really amazing food. So pickles, Coffee, you know, Rival Brothers Coffee is roasted there. And the businesses that are there have been very generous to us. I don't know if I'm leaving anybody out in terms of food. And Stacy Weber, who's an artist who actually has some pieces in the Smithsonian. That set of earrings, is it earrings and a necklace? That are made out of coins. Stacy created those. She does some really amazing, beautiful, beautiful work. And apparently you have to be specially licensed to work with money, old money.
I'll jump in and say that those Fishtown Pickle Project pickles are some of the best in Philadelphia. So jump on that.
Yes, they're on the same floor that we are. I got to go into the pickle refrigerator. It's pretty fabulous. The whole, you know, when they're doing
what a place.
It smells like a deli. It's really wonderful.
Great.
All right, I will, let me queue up this video. Let me know if you can't hear the video, which happened earlier.
TTF Watershed Partnership. Hello, everyone. I am more nervous than a turkey before Thanksgiving, but I'm going to try to do this for you. Oh, wrong one. My capstone was foraging at Tacony Creek Park. First, I want to talk to you about a little bit about me. My name is Mcrae. I've been living near Tacony Creek Park for about 11 years, and I never really had like a true connection to it. So I wanted to become a fellow to really learn more about the park and be connected to it, because it's kind of my backyard. And it was great because I'm also very much interested in plants and foraging and like sustainability. So my project, I had separated out in 3 subjects. I did blogs, so I had picked 5 plants that I've seen throughout Philadelphia, but especially in the park. And I made little blogs for them to talk about the edibility, the use, and identification and lookalikes, just to make sure that you know that you're picking the right plant. And then I made handouts. So when I was having walks, they could have a little handout and have a picture, which pretty much had the same information from the blogs while they were walking throughout the park. And then the foraging walks themselves, I scheduled 2 walks. One was April 14th and the other one is April 21st, which is tomorrow. And we will be walking around Tacony Creek Park and not only looking at the plants that I had picked, but also the other plants that are important. These are just a little screenshots of the blog and of the handouts. This is 2 screenshots of the blog that you can find in ttfwatershed.org. And then over here is the one of the handouts. It's a handout for plantain. So here's the front side, and then here is the back side. This is our pictures from our first walk. As you see, I'm right here. I am showing people about yellow wood sorrel, which is another plant that I use. Here's a picture of me holding American pokeberry. And then this is just a picture of me starting the walk and guiding people into the actual park. So I had a lot of new experiences and a lot of takeaways, but I could say my 4 big takeaways is just a better understanding of what's in the park. As I said before, I've been around the park for about 11 years, never really knew what was in it, never really felt welcome enough to go in there, so that's great. Number 2 is deeper connection to Tacony Creek and the park itself. just like learning what's in it, learning what's around it, and learning how to take care of it. Number 3 is new knowledge about foraging. As I said before, I love foraging. I've been foraging before, but I really learned more so how to do it much more proficiently. And then number 4 is more confidence. I didn't really think I could do it, but I did. Thank you guys for listening.
It was great to be able to hear her experience, even though we didn't attend the actual ceremony. Got 6 more minutes before the auction closes. Let's see. I just need a.
I'll just jump.
Okay, yeah, please do.
Sorry. I was going to say, I'll just jump in and say that Micaiah is just great. Had a chance to talk with her during the tour just recently through the CDRW's Watershed Forum with a tour that was led by Julie and Susan Harris with Cerulli, and it was just great to get to see how this generation, my generation, I suppose, also like how we are so involved in a way that is just really exciting, and it's just always good to see folks that are so passionate about this work.
Yes, and I was so excited to be able to meet Micaiah at the Alliance Fellows Summit, final summit. If any of you know young people who would like to be an Alliance Fellow, it's a wonderful summer internship program. It is not an unpaid internship. It's well paid. You get mentors as well, mentors from outside of the center you're placed at. So there's really a lot of support. So we're really hoping that these fellows, take with them these relationships that they will have developed with the watershed as they move through the world. So if you know someone, we have openings every summer, and we can't wait to welcome new people in.
Thank you for that, Micaiah. Apologies for mispronouncing. Just realized.
Hey, Julie, can I say something real quick?
Please do.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I'm from Rep. Nelson's office. I just wanted to congratulate everyone and thank everyone in TTF for all the amazing work you guys do. My background is in environmental studies. I got a degree from Penn State in earth science and policy. So I'm really excited personally about all the work you guys have been doing. I also wanted to mention that we are in the early stages of planning our second annual environmental conference. So if any of the environmental orgs here are interested in getting involved with that, I can put my email in the chat, and you can feel free to shoot me an email. And to everyone else, all the constituents in and out of our district, we will be advertising this as we get closer to it, and we'd love as many people as possible to get involved, because it's so important that we all come together to do what we can to protect our environment. So just want to say thanks to everyone, and it was great to meet you guys over Zoom.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting us join you in your conference room. And our best thank Representative Nelson.
I will. And he's sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but on behalf of all of us in the office, we appreciate all the work you guys do so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth Seeley, for joining us. You were Ruth Seeley from the Friends of Vernon Park was in our first class of Watershed Heroes, and we love Ruth, and we continue to work with her to manage and maintain the rain garden, the most amazing, very grown rain garden in Germantown and Vernon Park. So that was our first rain garden, and it's really wonderful to still get to hang out with Ruth.
I think we'll call it a mature rain garden now, right?
I guess so. I don't know. I guess that's what you call it.
That's what, yeah.
It certainly is fun to be able to take things out of those. I mean, we've now started to take things out of, rain gardens and plantings and divide them and move them into other places, which is really amazing, really wonderful to be sourcing our own plants from other restoration sites. So thank you. So Emily, I think we're done, right? Are we good? It's wonderful to see your face, Ruth.
It was a lovely night. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Our auction has raised over $2,000, which is incredible. Thank you everyone who bid and made donations. There might be some extended bidding on a couple of items, so you might be able to get a few more, if you're fighting over something with someone, but we really appreciate everyone coming out and celebrating our amazing Watershed heroes for the 10th year in a row. It's really, really incredible. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Everyone go have dinner.
Well, wonderful event as usual. Another great event.
Thank you.
Thank
you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
I always learn something new whenever I come to one of our events. It's always wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you. We hope we get to see you all soon.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
In person.
Yep. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.